Yo everyone, today I'm going to teach you how to maximize qualifying in F1 2025. These tips, tricks and rules will apply to short qualifying and the full qualifying format as well. What is the Q1, Q2 and Q3 all wrapped together into one session. So I've got a lot of stuff written down on my notepad and we're going to basically be covering all the little details, all the major details, 2 outlaps versus 1 outlap, and as well as going into how to cover the wet conditions later in the video. So, diving straight in to the basics of this video. As more time passes in qualifying, the track will get more grippy. That rule applies to Q1, Q2 and Q3 as well. That Q2 is more grippy than Q1 and Q3 is more grippy than Q2. So basically at the end of Q1 or at the end of qualifying sessions in general, there will be more grip on the track than at the end. This is the game trying to replicate the track, basically getting more rubber in real life, and they don't simulate it as each car laying down rubber. But they simulate it as a time thing. So no matter what you do, you'll always have the same grip at 2 minutes left in the session. So it's something that's very consistent and you can really understand and develop yourself around. So that's quite important when developing setups and understanding if you've got fast or slower with your driving style or setup approach. If you know that the track is more grippy towards the end, can basically give you a better idea where you are within your own pace. So this is also going to be covering into tire temperatures. As a basic thing, of course, different tracks require different tire temperatures to be maximizing them, but for the dry soft compound tire, I think a good rule of thumb is 74-75 on the front, that's carcass temperature, and then 77-78 on the rear as well, the carcass temperature. Of course, if you're struggling in sector 1 for grip, then you can go higher on that to basically just get more temperature, but will lead to more grip in the start of the lap, but that may punish you as a lap goes on and you might overheat the tires as the lap unfolds. The opposite is true. If you find yourself overheating the tires towards the end of the lap, and you'll know that you're overheating the tires because the car is becoming very unpredictable, slidey, and the grip is falling away from you as the lap unfolds, then you can start the lap with slightly colder temperatures, go up or down in increments of 2 degrees, I think is a good way to go about it, and then that could be a good baseline to build forward with. So the next part of the video, we're going to be talking about, there we go, got my words correct in the end. We're going to be talking about double outlaps versus single outlaps. So basically, this is completely determined by the fuel load here in the game. As you can see, the minimum that you can run is 5 kg, and you cannot actually go lower than that. You can, of course, go higher than that, but you can't go lower than 5 kg. On Interlagos Brazil, we can see that that leads to 3.5 laps of fuel. So that means that if you go out and do a singular lap, 1 outlap, 1 push lap, you're going to end up with so much extra fuel because, of course, that's 2 laps and it gives you a minimum 3.5 laps. So on Interlagos Brazil, you really want to be doing a double outlap to be maximizing it. If you're watching League Racing and also PSGL, WOR, I don't think WOR has been at this track yet in its League Racing calendar, but PSGL was just here a few weeks ago, so you can see all the top esports drivers were doing double outlaps, especially as the session progressed, and the lap times became even more critical as the session unfolded. They started doing double outlaps. As you can see to the bottom right hand side of my screen right now, as we're actually blocking Portoletto, sorry, you're going to see that we have 3.1 laps of fuel. So unless we spent basically the whole time with the engine in maximum RPM trying to burn the fuel, what would lead to the engine overheating, it's just going to be impossible to get the fuel down to an optimal level before the start of your flying lap. Ideally, you want to be with the fuel about 1.2, 1.3 is a safe margin because that allows you to get back to the pit lane after your lap. But if it is the final lap in the session and you don't require yourself to get back to the pit lane, because of course in the game, once you go over the start-finish line for the final lap in the session, as the time has expired, it just goes straight to the cutscene, right? So that just means that you don't actually need that fuel to go back to the pit lane. Because the engine is always on standard mode, basically you just need like 1.05 laps of fuel. You actually only need 1 lap of fuel, to be honest, to do a lap here in the F125 game. But 0.5 is just a little bit of a safety margin, you know, in case you over-rev the engine, over-consume a bit of fuel during the lap. Yeah, 1.05, 1.10 is a good range to be going with. So as you can see now, we are on our double out lap here in Brazil. The first lap was very soft, very gentle on the tires, but now the second lap, we're going to start building up that temperature. And the best way to warm up the tires is basically through long, high load situations. As you can see, we're not putting loads of stress into the tires right now, but I'm just putting long steering angles, I don't know if that's the right word, but inputs, I think, is a better word. I'm not doing like this, because like this overheats the surface of the tire and doesn't really do anything to generate carcass temperature. But if you're just basically doing long, smooth angles, putting load and friction into the tires, it means that basically you're doing a good efficiency of putting carcass temperature in. Ooh, just tapped my microphone, hope that didn't pick up. Basically, you're doing a good job of putting good energy into the tire without wearing it out too much. So now, because of our double out lap, you can see we came across the start-finish line with 1.8 laps of fuel. So that means that once we finish the lap, in theory, we should have a 0.8 a lap of fuel available to us to get back to the pit lane. So we can even go even lower and burn off even more fuel on the out lap. Going back into how you maybe would do that, if you do want to burn out lap fuel or burn your fuel load to be lower, this also does apply under a safety car condition in a race. You can hold your brake pedal. This is the most efficient way to go about it. You can hold your brake pedal, as you can see in the center of the screen right now with the halo. We are holding the brake pressure, I don't know, it's about 15, 10%, going up to 20, going up to the point that you're going to start locking up the tires and going 100% power. If you look to the bottom right hand side of your screen right now, you can see the fuel load is burning off so dramatically quick right now that it is something that you can really use to your advantage to get the fuel load lower and lower and lower. So ideally, of course, you would start the lap, as I mentioned, with 1.05 or 1.1 laps of fuel available to you, and that's a good way to burn off fuel. This also can be heating up the tires a little bit by doing the brake dragging, because basically the temperature from the brakes will infect into the carcass temperature of the tire. It's not that prominent on the F1 games anymore, but it's something you can do. It's more to keep tire temperature rather than increase tire temperature. On previous F1 games, I think it was F1 2023, basically you could do this and your tire temperatures would skyrocket, but now they fixed it. Well, I can't say they fixed it because it is quite realistic that the tire temperatures would skyrocket. But of course, in real life, you have a lot of brake wear in the game. It's not simulated, so it's quite unrealistic to be able to hold the brake pedal for that long without the brake discs exploding, basically. So yeah, that's basically that. You can use the brake dragging to reduce the fuel load, but of course also maintain tire temperature available to you as well. So that was basically how to do a double outlap, how to warm up your tires. Of course, going back to the point, about 74, 75 on the front tires, 77, 78 on the rear is a good rule of thumb when running the soft compound tire. Of course, the actual tire compound changes track by track, so they will feel slightly different. But again, just to keep the video short, sweet, compact, and informational, there we go, got my words out. Yeah, I think just that's a good number to go with. So now we're back in the pit lane. You can see that the tires that we just did those outlaps on have 3% wear. So those tires are not going to give me optimal performance anymore. As you can see, a new set of tires are going to give me almost a tenth of advantage. That's something, of course, that's very critical to be maximizing your lap time potential. But those worn tires are not completely useless to me anymore, because maybe at the start of the Q2 session, when there's extra time to go out and do a lap, I can do that lap on the worn tires to basically just get myself again familiarized with the new grip, the new track conditions, just to stay in the flow in general. So that's something you can do. You'll see a lot of esports drivers do it as well, whether it's in the actual official esports championship or in league racing. A lot of drivers will take their worn tires and do a lap at the start of the Q2 session, basically to go out and stay in the flow, stay in a good feeling with the track, and yeah, just to keep themselves in the correct mindset, rather than staying in the garage for 5 minutes and maybe losing a bit of their mentality to be in the flow, to be feeling confident with the circuit. So yeah, worn tires are not completely useless. You don't want them for optimal lap time performance, but they can still be useful to you to staying in the flow while the session timer ticks down and you wouldn't be doing anything anyway. So with that being said, let's head over to do the wet conditions and how I would be strategizing to maximize those situations as well. I just also want to clarify something from the dry segment of the video before we fully move over to the wet segment of the video as well. So, of course, I spoke about a double outlap and showed an example of a double outlap, just going into the fuel load to show it again. The reason that I do a double outlap on Brazil, this also applies to tracks such as Zandvoort. Any track where it's basically showing the minimum fuel load of 5 kg is producing 3.5 laps or above as its minimum fuel, basically, that it can allow you to use, then you want to do a double outlap to burn it down. Tracks such as Spa, Silverstone, longer circuits around the calendar, you can see that that lap prediction will go down to like 2.2, 2.5 estimated laps of fuel for 5 kg allocation. So on tracks like that, you will want to do a single outlap, and a double outlap will be negative to your performance. So basically, yeah, any track that you do need to burn the extra fuel off, and you're finishing the lap with over a lap estimated fuel remaining, then do a double outlap to burn it down, because a lap of fuel can be anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 temps of performance, and of course you do want that in your lap time rather than sat in the car. So now that's been cleared up, let's head fully into the wet segment of the video. So the track is going to be constantly evolving in the rain, and it's going to be really difficult to be maximizing it. Of course, at the moment it's a full wet condition on the circuit, but as you can see, you have got these delta estimated times with the intermediates versus the wets. And as you can see, the intermediates are predicted to be 8 tenths faster than the wet. So that's always going to be evolving and always going to be changing as you go on through the session. And the dry tires are still going to be 11.2 seconds slower than the intermediate tires in this condition. So as the track would be evolving and changing the wetness and the grip available to you, the dry tires maybe will getting closer on lap time, maybe even faster, and the same is true with the wet tires. Maybe it gets to a situation where the wet tires are faster than the intermediates, and maybe the intermediates are still the fastest on the track. Who knows? It all determined by the track, and this estimated delta time can be a good reference to go with, and something that you can really work forward with as well. So what we're going to do is show you going out on track. The same warm-up procedure still applies on the intermediates and wet tires as the dries. Long, smooth, basically tire loading inputs will give you the best outcome for your tire temperatures without bringing extra tire wear as well. So something I just want to discuss before we go out on track. If this was F1 sim racing, league racing, or anything like that, normally we would just do one singular push lap. Quite simply because we don't want the extra tire deg, and it's faster to slightly unknow the track conditions but have a lower fuel load and a lower tire deg rather than going out and doing multiple push laps like you would see in real life. In real life you would see push, cool down, push, cool down, push, cool down throughout the whole session, but in the game I'm not going to say tire wear is more sensitive, but because we have the opportunity to practice the conditions more than they do in real life, we're more going into the session to recreate an input, and in real life the rain is just changing so much quicker that you have to be on the circuit. In the game, it's a bit easier to predict what's going to happen with the weather in 5 minutes time, so for that reason you can basically afford to do singular outlaps, push laps, and really maximizing it. Brazil and Zandvoort, as I mentioned, is quite a unique one. Because of the extra fuel load, you can actually afford to push the tires a little bit more. So if I was on Brazil, Zandvoort, these tracks where the minimum fuel load is like 3.5 laps, then what I would do is my outlap, I would start pushing in the first sector to get an understanding and a feeling for the grip. Then normally I would start backing off again in the middle sector to bring down the tire temperatures, to recharge the battery, and that allows me to have a prediction for the grip level on the next lap in the first sector and build the lap with good momentum onto my proper flying lap. The reason you don't want to do this in the dry though is because the tire wear is too sensitive, and then you'll lose basically more in that situation than you can possibly gain, just from the tires being more worn out. So in the rain, the tire wear is just less sensitive, so you can play around with the car a little bit more. Of course, on the intermediate tires, it does say that the wets are the ideal one to go out on, but to be honest, it's a bit bugged. Again, it's actually fairly realistic. I have to give credit to the game. The AI on the wets at the moment, because it's just a coding situation. But you can basically see this line is drying at the moment. I am in everyone's way. Oh my word. There we go. Get out of the way. Lovely jubbly. Basically, as soon as this drying line is starting to form, then you can pretty much instantly go out on the intermediate tires and have an advantage compared to the wet compound. So yeah, it's basically just to do with tire temperatures in the intermediate. So once you can get the tires to be working in a decent range, what's going to be about 60 on the front and rears. If you can get them up to 60, 65, to be honest, then the intermediates will be in a good way. At the moment, they're down in 50 because, of course, we're not pushing, and the grip is quite low at the moment, as you can see, because we're sliding around quite a lot. But yeah, if you can get the tires up to about 60 degrees, then it's going to be much more advantageous for you to be on the intermediates rather than the wet tires. This will also be more true in high-speed tracks, where you can actually put more load into the tire. For example, Silverstone is a good example of this, that you have more high-speed corners, what means you put more grip, temperature into the tire. Whereas if you're on a track like Monaco, the tire temperatures are very low. The tire temperatures are very low indeed, so then it's going to be more of a struggle to get the tires up to their operating window for this condition. So yeah, Monaco, you would stay on the wets for longer, whereas a track like Silverstone or Spa, for example, with high-speed corners that put the load and friction into the tire, you'd go over the intermediates quicker. So as you can see, we did a big push in the first sector, understood the grip conditions a little bit more, and now we're backing off, and we're just trying to generate a bit more of that tire temperature as well. If it does get urgent, then what you can do is a big inputs like this. Of course, this will have a bit of tire deg to the tire, but in the wets and intermediates, as I mentioned, the tire deg is not massively high, so you can get away with it. It's not ideal, but in a worst case scenario, if you do need the extra tire temperature, you can do it. But again, the same is true. The best way to warm up the intermediates and wets is just by pushing, because they're much more susceptible to losing tire temperature than the dry compound tires. So yeah, if you do want to build up that tire temperature, the best way is just to push, and that's the ideal way to go about it. Like I say, in esports, we would normally just try to do this outlap situation with the lowest fuel load possible to try and maximize performance. But again, that is just esports. And if you are doing career mode or your own league racing and you're not comfortable to go out and smash it in with one lap time available to you, then what you can do is add more fuel to the car, and basically just go up to sort of like that 4.2, 4.9, 5 laps available to you, and then do the push, cool down, push, cool down, push throughout the session. Just make sure that the final lap you do, because that's when the track will be at its grippiest with the track. Of course, rubbering in, because the same is true in the wet as well as the dry. The later in the session, the more grip the track has, providing, this is the big ultimatum in the wet condition, if the track has more rain on it, is wetter, as you're going to see, I'm just going through the menus at the moment, need to get my keyboard collect. yeah, as you can see, if it's forecasted that more rain will be falling later in the session, then of course the track is going to be slower because it has more water on top of it, which means less grip. But yeah, providing the track conditions are very static like they are right now, as you can see, we're going to fast forward right now to the end of the session. On the bottom right hand side, you can see that the time is fast forward. We're going to go out on track, and you're going to actually see, comparing to the start of the session, how much water has been dispersed off the circuit, and due to the natural track evolution in the game, how we can take advantage from that in our own way. Even on the intermediate tire. So going down the pit lane, you can see already that the track with the racing line is much more dry. I'm on ultra low graphics, just for reference as well. The reason I'm on ultra low is just to make the game more smoother when driving, because I'm still liking to be on the competitive side. I don't need the ultra high graphics at the moment for the PC that I have, as there's still some limitations to the smoothness if I do go higher on the graphics. But as you can see, the racing line is so much drier right now, and that's something you can really take advantage of. Providing the track conditions are stable from earlier in the session, the later you go, the more grip you will have available to you, and you can really see. Thank you, Albon. He's getting out my way. Oh, okay, we crashed. Okay, that's not ideal. But as you can see, it's just ideal. The later you can go, the better track conditions you'll have, providing more rain hasn't fallen on the circuit, and you can just keep that in mind. Other thing to also keep in mind is when driving offline in this game, the grip is quite dramatically worse. So when you are driving in the rain especially, you do really want to focus to staying in the train tracks of the racing line to be having that optimal grip level performance available to you, and if you do go outside of it, then you may end up with much less grip available to you and your car. So with that being said, this has been the tutorial touching upon how you can be maximizing your qualifying performance, your strategies, your timings, double outlaps, single outlaps, wet weather conditions as well, and how you can be maximizing it. So yeah, hopefully this video has been a nice introduction to you on how you can strategize your performance here in the qualifying for the F1 2025 game. If you have any other sort of video guides or topics you would like me to talk about, I'm more than happy to. Just leave it down in the comments and I'll do my best to get the tutorial out to you ASAP. So yeah, basically I'm almost done with all the track guides. We're just going to have a bit of fun drifting right here, to be honest. I'm basically done. We're going to let Bearman go so we can have a bit of fun. I'm basically done with the track guides. I have a few more track guides to go. So my channel will transform a bit more to doing my normal tutorials, such as like just little details in the game, how to maximize pet entry, how to maximize traction control. That was not a good drift, etc, etc. Also going back to doing like career mode uploads. I think I'm going to start a brand new season because it's been so long since I actually did upload career mode. Yeah, it's been so long since I uploaded career mode. I think it'll be a bit weird to go back to sort of like round 6 of the championship when I'm using different camera settings. I'm in a different rig. It's like recorded months ago. So with that being said, I think it's best to restart it. I'm working with a very cool person at the moment to get a special skin for the car. So I have my own livery, what I'm very excited for. And yeah, basically we're going to go back to pumping out more content on the channel, what I'm very excited for, and live streaming that as well. So with all that being said, thank you everyone so much for your support. Honestly, it means the world to me. It's so cool, you know. I'm really honored that I can do this kind of stuff. It's my job. Yeah, thank you everyone, and I will catch you lot in the next video. Hopefully the microphone quality was better. I'm really working hard to make the microphone quality a bit more so it's much closer to me at the moment. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Grazie ragazzi, ciao ciao. Wait, we could actually do... Oh, no, they're boxing. Wait, can we get one of them before? Don't disqualify me. Don't disqualify me. No! Oh, okay. Unlucky. See you next time. Ciao, ciao.